Can you see the Word file?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So last class we were discussing about elasticity, price elasticity of demand. Before that, I was just showing you how to calculate elasticity. In general, we usually go for first order derivative. In that way, for different equation, different maybe linear, non-linear, also elasticity can be measured. Then in a straight line, another way of measurement is in this way, but always go for this kind of measurement. Okay, and here I show you also for a demand curve measuring that elasticity in a very simple way. You can find it out very quickly in that way. And now today I am going to discuss about determinants of price elasticity of demand. Determinants of price elasticity of demand. Okay. Now these are the, you can say these are the determinants, or these are the factors or situations which ultimately decides whether a particular product will be elastic or inelastic, or highly elastic or less elastic, and so and so. These are the factor or condition based on which actually elasticity may vary. Okay. So can you tell me price elasticity of demand? So can you tell me any determinants? Can you guess? Let it be whatever is coming to your mind, so that I can go on elaborating. If you like to, otherwise I will definitely reply, but if you like to guess at the beginning. Determinants or situation which influence whether a particular product will be elastic, inelastic, highly elastic, less elastic, so and so. Quickly, if you like to respond. No one? What I say, these are the situation or factors or determinants which influence, which decide ultimately a particular product will be highly elastic, less elastic, and so and so. Or elasticity value will be higher or lower, and so and so. That E, price elasticity of demand value. Tell me quickly. Unless you open your mouth, I will not proceed. Means I will not go on explaining. Ultimately, I will answer, no doubt about it. But I want to listen from you so that I can proceed.
So like some product may,
Pardon?
so like some products which are demanded in some season and not demanded in other.
Products which are seasonally available means.
Yes,
Then what will happen? Suppose in winter season that product is available. What will be its impact on elasticity? Impact of elasticity means how sensitive the product will be with respect to change in price. That basically we are measuring how sensitive demand for that product with respect to change in price. So some products are,
high
pardon?
will be too low. So in price will be low, demand will increase.
Pardon. Please repeat.
Sir, in some season, like in summer season, the price will be high, and in other season it will be low. So when it will be low, demand will increase.
No, when price is less, demand will increase. You are telling it in a reverse way. When price will be less, demand will go up.
No.
We are basically measuring how sensitive a product with respect to change in price. Okay. Now, in this case, there may be some situation, condition, factors which ultimately influence in such a way that the product may have a very high price elasticity of demand. In other situation, product may have a very less price elasticity of demand. Okay, let me give you one example. Say, for example, one is availability of substitutes. Availability of substitutes. Think about two situations. One product A is having very close substitutes, and product B is having no. Suppose product A and B. Suppose one product is A, another product is B. Product A in situation A1, first situation, product A is having very close substitutes. Okay. Suppose a pen. In market, you are getting different brand of pen. So one pen is different from another company's pen, but they are very close substitute. If you increase price, what will happen? If you increase price of a particular brand, in market, there are similar pen from other brand, other companies, more or less same other pens are, but you increase price, then demand will immediately decrease, drastically decrease, because the existing consumer will switch over to some that substitute product as suppose, substitute brand as suppose. Immediately they will substitute, they will switch over. You increase per unit price of that pen from 5 rupee to 6 rupee. Immediately I will switch over from product A is a particular brand, to its substitute brand of pen, because market is highly competitive. So it will be highly sensitive, means drastically demand decrease means what? Elasticity will be very high. But think about a particular product B, which is not having any close substitutes in market. B is the only product available in market, no other products which can substitute B. What will happen then? You increase price. You increase price. Then also demand may decrease. You increase price. Price increase. Demand, I am saying that demand will decrease. I am not saying that not will be at same level, but demand will decrease, but that decrease will be very, very marginal because there is no close substitutes. I need that one, that product, because the product is not having any substitutes. In that case, although price may go up, demand may decrease, but that decrease will be very, very minimum. Means it is just like a situation like earlier demand was 1000 units. When price increased, demand decreased to 900. But in this case, earlier demand was 1000. When price increased, it come down to 300 because it is highly sensitive. Immediately existing consumer switch over from product A to some other product. Okay. From this product to other product. So when there is a drastic change, what will happen? Very high slope. High slope means what? Elasticity value is very, very high. And this will be relatively inelastic. This will be relatively inelastic. Is it not? Price increase but demand decrease. I am not saying that demand will also be at 1000 unit. that possibility is also there, then it will be perfectly inelastic, horizontal line. Sorry, your perpendicular. In this case, if it is more and more horizontal, it is highly elastic. If it is closer to a perpendicular line, you see here, it will be close to 0. So in this case, actually, it will be much more horizontal. Highly elastic means for a small change in price, so it will be something like this. So price change from this to this, demand change this much. It may be more also if you make it more horizontal. It is just like this. I'm talking about this one here. Infinity elasticity is highly elastic. It is 0, relatively inelastic. It is perfectly inelastic. These are written here also, perfectly inelastic, perfectly elastic, so and so. Anyway, so you got the idea that closer the substitute, higher will be the elasticity value. Simple. Means a product is having close substitutes, the product will be highly elastic. And a product is not having any close substitute, it will be it will be less elastic or relatively inelastic. Elasticity value will be close to 0. Clear? Any other factor which ultimately influence, or determinants will ultimately influence price elasticity of demand? Quickly, if you like to guess. At least you guess, no harm. Quickly, but what I expect from you that if you like to respond, quick response. Do not waste time. It depends upon your understanding. If you are not understanding, then you will remain mum, and in exam you will not be able to write anything. Yes? Anyone? Should I call one by one or not? That is really frustrating for me. Yeah, Saurabh.
Sir, nothing.
Pardon?
Sir, nothing is coming in mind.
Nothing will come in mind. Okay, I am giving you another hint, another determinant. Nature of the commodity. What kind of product it is? That also decides whether a product will be elastic or inelastic. You remember nature of the commodity means what do I mean by? You remember earlier I mentioned that luxury goods, essential goods, in that way. So
Yes.
think about an AC. AC is coming under luxury item, suppose. So for an AC, if price increase, demand will drastically decrease. But think about an essential commodity, suppose salt, table salt. So salt is an essential commodity. I assume, suppose it is essential. You can bring, say, matchbox. This is an essential. Suppose the background situation is that I am using matchbox for cooking food only. I do not have any gas stove and so and so. For cooking, I am using a matchbox. Matchbox price is rupee now. It price increased from 2 rupee to 3 rupee. Then also might be for my cooking, I am purchasing one matchbox. Suppose monthly you require one matchbox. Then also you are purchasing one matchbox. But if suppose split AC price was suppose 40,000, its price increased by 50%, just like 2 to 3. Here also 50% means it become 40,000 to 60,000. Demand will drastically decrease. So luxury items will be highly elastic in nature, whereas essential commodities are relatively inelastic. I'm not saying perfectly inelastic, but it will be relatively inelastic. Okay, you got the idea or not?
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
can you give the example of petrol in this case?
Just a minute. What I mentioned, nature of commodity, suppose. Now another factor I want to mention here, that is your what I want to mention here before mentioning that one, that simultaneously 2-3 factors or determinants work in same example. Do not think that taking the help of this kind of example, you could have given me other determinants. Even if you are listening my examples carefully, based on that one, your answer may not be accurate. That is different issue. So what someone says about petrol, now petrol you are considering under which category, essential commodities or what?
Essential.
If it is essential, definitely you might be. For you, suppose petrol is essential. If price go up, petrol or price go up by some rupees, 10, 15, 20 rupees, then also you are going to purchase petrol. Okay, might be because of your other compulsion. So if this is the case, then it will be relatively inelastic.
Yes, sir.
Because you consider essential commodity. So ultimately the focus is not on the example. Focus is on the factor or determinants. Determinants here is the nature of the commodity. Depending upon that one, ultimately price elasticity may change. Price elasticity of demand may change. Because same petrol, you can use it to explain another determinants with the help of this petrol again. That is possible. I am not saying right now. But anyway, any other determinants you like to guess at least? Quickly. At least I can tell you, based on same example, I will use it now, and I can tell you 2 more determinants easily. Indirectly, I'm telling you a hint that, okay, think over that example, and you can think about maybe other determinants. If you like to guess quickly. Any?
Masks in like COVID times, their price increased. Like
Then
demand.
what will happen? Then
As
also you
COVID
will purchase. Then also you will purchase, or what?
So like as soon as COVID will like move away, that demand will drastically decrease.
No, I'm not getting it. What you are saying? Price of mask increase in cold you are using it. Then as long as means my simple question is that are you considering this example for nature of the commodity, under nature of the commodity? See what I say. Okay, let me explain one more determinant. What I say. Few minutes back, I give the example of matchbox. So related to matchbox, what I mentioned, price increase from 2 rupee to 3 rupee. So how you link up another determinants, that is your proportion of income spent. In matchbox, what is happening exactly? 2 rupee to 3 rupee hypothetical value. It may be 1 rupee to 2 rupee also. Okay, anyway. As you are spending say 0.0000001% maybe, or even less of your income might be. Because of that, you might be less bothered about whether price increase or less, or decrease or remain constant. But But think about the split AC, 40,000 to 60,000, 50% increase. 40 to 60. You might be very concerned because that constitute might be a 1 month salary for you. So when the item is consuming or require very negligible portion of your income, you might be less vulnerable. You might be less bothered about. Means you will be relatively insensitive to that increase in price. Okay. But if the increase in price is going to use a big proportion of your income, then definitely you are concerned. That will be the case in case of AC. That is just an example. Okay. So demand, if proportion of income spent on a particular commodity is very, very negligible, it will be relatively inelastic. But if proportion of income spent on a particular product is relatively high, it will be highly elastic. So depending upon that situation, elasticity may vary. Again, price elasticity of demand may vary. Same example, I use it here. Yes?
Sir, another parameter can be festivities, as during the festival times, even if a product decreases its price, then it will be not much relevant in increasing demand, as a lot of its competitors will also put discounts to attract customers.
I'm not getting it, your example. Anyway, I'm giving you another example. Okay. That is your, just now I mentioned is proportion of income. Another is I am telling it, suppose time factor. Say simultaneously, same example. Again, I am using it. Matchbox and split AC. Time factor. Time factor means here how much time actually you require to adjust yourself with the new price. That also play a very big role. If time requirement is very, very less, it will be relatively inelastic. Example is Matchbox. Price increase from 2 rupee to 3 rupee. To adjust yourself with the new price of 3 rupee, you require might be very negligible time, might be fraction of second. Okay, it's increased 3 rupee or give me 1, something like that. You are less bothered because of that in fraction of second, you might be taking a decision. But in case of split EC, to adjust with the new price of 60,000, you require might be 1 year time or maybe more, something depending upon how much income is. Then it will be relatively elastic. So if time required to adjust yourself with new price is very, very less, it will be relatively inelastic. So time factor play a very important role. Okay. Then another factor may be range of alternative uses of a particular commodity. The meaning is, I'm giving one example. Say electricity. Electricity, you are using it for suppose cleaning, means you are using it for cooking, might be using microwave oven, might be you are using refrigerator, might be you are using means your washing machine or stove and so, heating, light, AC, everywhere, fan, and number of activities you are using it. So price of electricity increased by 300%. Suppose, what will happen? You will try to, if possible, because you are using electricity in n different activities. Wherever possible, I'm not saying proportionately everywhere. Wherever possible, you will try to reduce consumption of electricity, because now electricity becoming very, very costly. So earlier you might be not aware of, not careful about switching off your lights and fan. Now, as price increase, you are very, very careful, and so and so. So when a particular product will have n different uses, so possibility of reducing its consumption will also be more. In comparison to think about, say that matchbox, that matchbox, you are using it only for cooking. During cooking only you are using it. So when you are using that matchbox only for cooking, during that time, although its price increase, then also you might be using one matchbox. Means its alternative uses are very, very limited. Because of that, although you are using that matchbox, but it become relatively price insensitive. It may be. Means demand may decrease, but to some extent only, demand may decrease. Because it is having very limited use. Or think about salt. Only during cooking only you are using salt. So salt may have limited use. Suppose monthly on an average you require 1 kg of salt. Suppose hypothetically. The price increase, then also might be you are purchasing 1 kg of salt. But as I said earlier also, there may be 2-3 other factors simultaneously work. But in this case, what I am saying that salt is having, suppose hypothetically I assume that salt is having very limited use. But suppose you are using milk for having directly for card or for having tea or coffee and so, a number of activities you are using milk. Price of milk increased by 200-300%. Then probably in many of these activities when you are using it, there may be a possibility that you may reduce its consumption. When price increase, demand decrease more, it will be elastic. But when price increase, then demand decrease, but that is marginally negligible only. Which may be the case of matchbox, maybe. Still you are purchasing, it will be relatively inelastic. So range of alternative usage of a commodity may be another factor. Clear? So in that way you can go on. So I mentioned maybe 2-3 factor already, 4, 5, at least 5 factor I mentioned. Nature of the commodity, proportion of income spent, time required, alternative uses, then what else? Another factor I mentioned might be. Okay. At the beginning, availability of substitutes also I mentioned it in that way. Yeah. Okay. So in that way you can go on. Now, let me explain the relationship between average revenue, marginal revenue, and price elasticity of demand. The relationship. Now, before that, Professor Nayak will discuss in detail while discussing your profit, loss, and so. But I'm telling you quickly what is average revenue. So suppose you are a producer of pen. You are producing pen and selling it in market at 5 rupee. You are producing 1,000 units of pen, selling it into market at 5 rupee. So in this case, this 5,000, that is your total revenue. Okay. What is average revenue? How you are getting this total revenue? Total revenue is nothing but P into Q. P is the price, Q is the 1,000 unit, P into Q. So TR is P into Q. What is marginal revenue? MR, first order derivative of total revenue. D PQ divided by DQ. with respect to Q. Means if you produce one additional unit of output and sell it in market, you will generate some revenue, extra revenue. That represents my marginal revenue. First order derivative of total revenue. And what is average revenue? Average revenue is total revenue divided by Q. This is nothing but P into Q divided by Q is nothing but P. Now, when we talked about marginal revenue, or you can write instead of P and Q, you can write total revenue. First order derivative of total revenue. Means here D into P into Q divided by D. Okay. Then if you go for this one, multiplication or in the first order derivative, what you will get it? One is will be P, simply dq by dq, it will be P plus Q dp by dq. So you are getting MR equal to, suppose P you are bringing it outside, 1 plus Q by P dp by dq. Is it clear? Clear or not?
Yes.
Now, you see this portion. Now you see this portion. What is this portion?
One divided by price elasticity of demand.
Okay, so if this is the case, can we not write MR equal to P? And before that, you are having a negative sign also, you can bring it here. So it will be ultimately, can you not write in this way? See here. What I mentioned. This is E or EP. EP means it is simply elasticity, price elasticity. You can write E also. dq by dp into P by Q. So in our case, what is happening? Q by P into dp by dq is just inverse of elasticity and negative. So I'm just writing that one. Or you can write also like MR equal to AR instead of P, you can write AR into 1 minus 1 by E. In a linear demand curve, what is happening exactly? This demand curve is basically nothing but your price line. This is nothing but your demand line, means this is nothing but your average revenue equal to P. Middle of that line, elasticity is equal to 1. You know it already. So when elasticity is 1, what will be that MR value? 1 means whole portion is 0, whole right hand side is 0. You will get a value somewhere here, 0. Suppose you are getting a point here. 0. MR is 0. If elasticity value is less than 1, less than 1, 0.7, then this portion will be more than 1. The moment it is more than 1, negative portion, whole side will be negative. So it will be somewhere here below. So if you plot it carefully, you will get a line, a linear case, which will be your MR curve. Okay. So you already got that idea. that at higher portion of your demand curve, normal demand curve, it is highly elastic. Lower portion, it is relatively inelastic. You may find. Relatively, you may find. This is already explained, nothing here. Relatively elastic, inelastic, already in here I mentioned it. No? You see here, highly elastic or relatively elastic, relatively inelastic. You know, normal. This is the demand curve here. And you might be thinking that why I draw it in this way. So MR curve is having, there is a relationship between average revenue and marginal revenue. You can mathematically you can prove it also. Means if what you will get it ultimately, say Q equal to A minus BP, or P equal to A minus BQ. P into Q. In that way, it will be AQ minus BQ square, total revenue. So total revenue will be how much? If P is this one, total revenue equal to P into Q, P into Q equal to AQ minus BQ square, AQ minus BQ square. It was just multiplying P by Q, AQ minus BQ square. What is marginal revenue? First order derivative of total revenue by DQ. If you go for first order derivative, it will be A minus 2 BQ. What is the difference between this price line and marginal revenue? Only difference is the slope. The slope portion, here slope portion is minus 2SB. Here slope portion is minus B. This is the only difference. What is this price line? This is that AR, P equal to AR, already I mentioned it. Means this is that one, AR equal to P. What is MR? MR curve will have a slope which is twice B, twice of average revenue curve. This is your AR. AR equal to P equal to A minus BQ. So this slope will have twice. This MR curve will have twice slope than average revenue curve. Mathematically, you can prove it. Professor Nayak will tell you probably, but otherwise also you should know it anyway. Clear? And it has some other link also. Means I didn't go, but I can say if you look at your total revenue, if you plot your total revenue against quantity, total revenue is what? P into Q. I'm just showing you those things. Okay, total revenue. If you plot total revenue, this side is suppose total revenue, means P into Q. This side is Q. Okay. You may get this kind of suppose relationship. Then here, you can link it up easily. It depends upon actually how you interpret. Because when total revenue is maximum, maximum means what? Slope is 0. Slope of total revenue, you know, slope of total revenue is nothing but MR. So when it is maximum, slope is 0, means slope of total revenue is 0, means MR is 0, means here, means it is something like that. I draw first that MR, it may not be very accurate, but suppose I assume So here, this is the point where E equal to 1, elasticity value equal to 1. This is your average revenue, this is your marginal revenue. In that way, this is your total revenue, TR equal to P into Q. So and so. Okay. So you can find it out in that way, in different way. These are having a link actually, interlinked. Anyway, now if we move quickly, this is something about your price elasticity of demand. But if we look into, because this is change in price and how sensitive my product with respect to price, what I mentioned, elasticity of demand. Elasticity of demand, first one was your price elasticity of demand. Means percentage change in quantity demanded with respect to percentage or proportionate change in price of the commodity. How sensitive the product, you are just measuring it. But sometimes, you recall our dynamic demand function. Price is not the only determinant. There may be other determinants also. Then accordingly, elasticity of demand may be of other kind also. So one is cross elasticity of demand. Let me go to cross elasticity of demand. So just a minute, let me try. Okay, luckily it worked. So I was discussing this one here. So I pasted it here. Then, okay. Now I can move on. Let me insert a few pages. So I am going to discuss now cross elasticity of demand. So what is happening here? You remember? Okay. So you remember already that your sometime one of the determinants of demand is that price of its substitute or complementary item. So accordingly, from that concept, cross elasticity of demand is coming into picture. So what we are doing it here, say cross elasticity. Suppose I am writing EC, or in other way also, it is say percentage change or proportionate change in quantity demanded of, suppose I am writing tea and coffee, suppose. Okay, just a minute. Let me do it in a simple way. Percentage change in quantity demanded of commodity A by percentage change in price of B, commodity B. Means with respect to this A and B are complementary or maybe substitute to each other. Percentage change in quantity demanded of A by percentage change in price of B. A and B may be complementary or it may be substitute also. Say for example, you already know, suppose tea and coffee, in our example I mentioned it earlier. Sometime suppose I am analyzing elasticity of demand for tea, which says if I measure it, elasticity of demand, ET, suppose elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand, then simply we write it dQ by dP into P by Q. Here all are related to T only, same commodity. Okay. But in case of cross elasticity, I am measuring this change in demand with respect to price of not tea, with respect to price of coffee, price of other commodity. It may be substitute or complementary. So in this case, what will happen? How I will write it? Cross elasticity of tea and coffee, dQT, because I am measuring how sensitive my product means tea. Tea is the product, demand for tea, with respect to change in price of coffee. This we are measuring it here. Suppose, because you know, suppose price of tea, suppose tea, one is tea, another is coffee. Price of tea, constant, no change. But demand for tea may go down. Why? Suppose price of coffee decrease. Price of coffee is not constant, it is substitute. Price of coffee decrease. When price of coffee decrease, its demand will go up. How coffee demand is going up? Some of that existing consumer will purchase more quantity of coffee. Some of them, as price decrease, I can afford. So now some of that existing consumer of tea may switch over from tea to coffee. Because coffee price decrease, I switch over from tea to coffee. So demand for coffee may go up. But here, when they switch over, even one consumer, demand for tea will go down. So in this case, price is constant. But as price of coffee decrease, demand for tea also decrease. Okay. So in this case, for cross elasticity of demand value will be what? Positive or negative? In this case, quickly. Are you there or not? Positive or negative? Cross elasticity of demand for tea and coffee? Can you hear or not? Are you there? Totally silent?
Yes, sir.
So tell me. You see, I have already written. Everything is there. Quickly you tell me. Saurabh is telling it's okay, but what about others? Anyone? Are you there, or you are just, your system is on and you are just moving here and there? See, I have already mentioned it here. Seeing these two values, can you not say it? This is a class maybe 4 or 5 standard question. Price decrease, demand also decrease, same direction. It will be, you will get a positive value. If price increase, demand will increase for coffee. But if it is petrol, fuel means petrol and four-wheeler, means complete tea and coffee, something like that. What will happen? It will be a negative value. So if it is substitute, you will get a positive value. If it is complementary, you will get a negative value. Bread and butter. Think over it seriously, otherwise you will be in big trouble at the time of exam. Do not expect me that each and every example I will just explain it. Bread and butter, suppose your example is, suppose price of bread constant. Price of bread and butter. Price of bread constant. But you are interested to know what will happen to demand for quantity demanded for bread, because behind the scene assumption is that I am having butter with bread only. When butter is not there, I am not having bread. Price of butter increase. It increased so much that I cannot afford. So demand decrease, demand for butter decrease. How demand for butter will decrease? Because I cannot afford, because of that, I may reduce my consumption, or some of you may totally stop purchasing butter. So demand will go down. When demand is going down, means butter is not available. Bread consumption is also going down, because butter is not available. How can I consume bread? So in this case, price of bread is no change. But as price of butter increase, demand for bread decrease. So it is a negatively slow relationship. Negative relationship. Price increase, demand decrease. So in case of complementary, this is an example of complementary, bread and butter. You will get a negative value. In case of substitute, you will get a positive value. So analyzing even cross elasticity, you can say, if I say that cross elasticity between commodity A and B is 0.3, 0.3, you should understand that A and B are substitute to each other by default. Do not expect me that I will write another sentence that A and B are substitute to each other. I may not try. You have to use your common sense. Okay? Any question, any question, if you have, you can ask me quickly. If you have any question. No. Yeah, please.
Positive, then they are substitute, and negative, then complementary.
Yeah, in case of cross elasticity, this is happening, na? You use your mind in sequence. You think about, you will get the answer. Because sometimes the answer may be, suppose the question may be tea and sugar. So if it is distinct example, you can understand. But if I do not mention any product's name, simply I mention that, okay, product A and B are complementary to each other, then so and so. Question I set up separately. I also mentioned that product A and B are complementary. Then by default, you have to understand that, okay, this is an hint or indication. Okay, that something may happen in that way. So in case of substitute, because tea and coffee substitute, so I'm writing it as substitute. In case of substitute, and this is your complementary. Complementary item. Okay. It facilitated consumption of one, facilitated more of consumption of other. Consumption of butter facilitate consumption of more bread. Same is the case for four-wheeler and say fuel or petrol. If you purchase a four-wheeler, you are going to, it facilitate more and more consumption of fuel also. Tomorrow, what I will do, or next class, not tomorrow, next class I will discuss, because third determinant, you remember, income of the consumer. So I'm going to discuss income elasticity. Income elasticity of demand. Because depending upon your income also, your elasticity may vary. Means your when change in income. Basically, we are measuring how sensitive demand for your product with respect to change in income. Because you remember in dynamic demand function, another factor was income. So in that way, we are just discussing. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Just a minute.